So the internet has been losing its mind over the past couple days because of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And get this, the controversy is over a potential gay romance and the inclusion of a black character. Yep, you heard that right, that's what's got everyone throwing a tantrum now. Now let me break this down for you. Kingdom Come Deliverance, for those of you living under a rock, it's set in 1400s Bohemia. It's a historical RPG that prides itself on being grounded in realism. So when the devs decided to throw in a gay romance option and a black dude, suddenly it's like the apocalypse hit. Everyone's acting like this is a major breach of historical accuracy. But here's the thing. People forget that history is much more complicated than the fairy tales they like to tell themselves. Just because you don't like the idea doesn't mean it isn't realistic or valid. I mean, when's the last time you actually studied history instead of just watching YouTube videos made by self-proclaimed history buffs? Homosexuality has been a thing, guys. Seriously, look it up. I'm not talking about some modern social construct. This has been around for centuries. The earliest recorded case? Well, take a wild guess. It was in ancient Mesopotamia. Yep, they didn't have TikTok back then, but guess what? People were still sucking dick. So the idea that a gay romance in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is somehow historically inaccurate, it's laughable at best.
But Ara, it was seen as a sin back then.
Oh please, you really think that's gonna stop people from doing what they want? Newsflash, people have been breaking all sorts of rules for as long as humanity's existed. Just because some ancient priests whacked their fingers doesn't mean people weren't living their lives. It's almost like you think history is a nice, clean little list of do's and don'ts, but guess what? It's a messy, complicated thing where humans did exactly what they wanted regardless of the consequences. Oh, and don't get me started on black people. Yes, guys, those existed for a while too.
But not in Bohemia.
You might be screaming for in your mom's basement, but guess what? He's a medic, brought in by enemy forces, an explorer. Yes, black people left their homelands to travel the world. It wasn't some isolated, only white people exist fairy tale. And get this, he's treated like absolute trash by everyone around him because that's historically accurate. But no, let's ignore that part and pretend history was a color-coded utopia where no one ever stepped outside their little bubble. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, it's a goddamn RPG. You know, one of those games we've been bitching about for years because they never give us any real choices. Except this one does. It's giving you the freedom to make choices, to shape the world, and what are you doing? You're picking a fight about it because you have nothing better to do. It's like you're just looking for something to complain about, and the second the game doesn't fit neatly into your tiny little box, you lose your mind. We live in a society, and as much as some of you hate it, gay people and black people are part of it. They have always been. You see them every day, whether you like it or not, so yeah, it makes sense you'll see them in the media you consume too. Video games, like any form of entertainment, reflect the time period they're made in. But here's the thing. Unlike most games that came out these past 5 years, Warhorse Studios is actually putting out something with thought and care behind it. The representation in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 works because it's invisible. It's not shoved down your throat, it's just there. No need to justify itself or talk in circles about it. Choices have consequences, and I'm 100% sure that if you go for a gay relationship or decide to be decent to the black character, Bohemia is going to react accordingly. That's the beauty of RPGs. You get to choose every single thing about your journey, no matter how small or insignificant it seems. You control the story. That's how it should be.
But Ara, Veilguard did this too and you hated it.
No. Veilguard was a walking propaganda machine, masquerading as an RPG, wearing the skin of one of the most beloved franchises in the genre. They are not the same. And the fact that I even have to explain this pisses me off. Veilguard doesn't give you a choice. Not a single one. In Kingdom Come, you can shape Henry into whoever you want him to be. In Veilguard, you're forced to play as the most insufferable goody-two-shoes allied to the movement NPC you can imagine. It doesn't allow you to kill, be mean, or even disagree with characters who are clearly written as members of the movement, who, by the way, shouldn't even be in the story to begin with. Tash, as a character, a bucket of cold water on players. Their existence as non-binary made zero sense in the lore. Thedas was an established world before Veilguard came along, and players had already encountered same-sex relationships and gender identity in previous games, but they didn't bat an eyelash. Until Veilguard came in like a wrecking ball, slamming modern-day terminology, ideology, and politics all over the place, destroying what was already established. No one cared about representation, diversity, and inclusion in previous titles because it was seamlessly integrated into the world. And that's what it boils down to: seamlessness. Players aren't stupid, and they sure as hell don't want to be lectured about modern-day politics while they're just trying to escape reality. Games like Veilguard, which, let's face it, are unfortunately the majority these days, use video games as a vehicle to change the world. They generally think gamers are gonna have this collective epiphany in the middle of playing, realize the world is an unjust place, and then get up and go do something about it. Spoiler alert, they won't. Ruining video games for the sake of a message isn't going to change anything. It will only make things worse because now, spaces that were meant to be an escape from the chaos of real life are being infiltrated by it. And that's the big difference between Veilguard and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. The latter doesn't expect to teach you any lessons you don't want to learn. It's not trying to push an agenda or make some grand statement. It's just giving you options because it's an RPG. Henry doesn't suddenly become gay or bi because the developers decided it. His sexuality is completely up to you. His personality, your choice. If you see gay romance scenes, it's not because you misclicked once and now you're stuck with it. It's a repeated choice, something you actively decide to pursue throughout the game. It's all about choices. So I am begging you, put down your phone, go outside, touch some grass, pick up a book, and for the love of God, start informing yourself about stuff and having your own damn opinions and thoughts. Stop letting other people think for you and tell you what you should be angry about. You are smarter than that. Look, at the end of the day, we all just want to enjoy the games we love without being lectured or guilt-tripped into some agenda. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is doing it right. It's giving you choices, genuine, meaningful ones without shoving anything down your throat. It respects the player, respects the story, and respects the world it's built. It's not forcing diversity for the sake of a political statement. It's just giving you the freedom to shape the world the way you want to. So stop whining, start thinking for yourself, and maybe, just maybe, take a second to appreciate the thought and care that actually went into making a game that trusts you to make your own decisions. In the end, it all comes down to authenticity. Forced representation feels like a checkbox that needs to be ticked, shoehorning characters and ideologies into places they don't belong. It's not about telling a compelling story, it's about satisfying an agenda. Organic representation, on the other hand, it's a natural part of the world being built. It doesn't need to be explained, justified, or preached about. It just is. It's seamlessly woven into the narrative because it reflects the reality we live in. When games allow players to make choices to shape their own path, it's a powerful thing. You're not being lectured, you're being trusted. That's the difference, and that's what makes games like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 stand out. When representation is organic, it enriches the experience, giving depth to characters and making the world feel real without forcing a narrative. It allows players to engage with different identities and perspectives naturally, rather than feeling like they're being lectured or guilted into understanding them. It's about respecting the audience's intelligence and letting them form their own conclusions. In contrast, forced representation can often feel like it's trying too hard, pushing a message more than it's telling a story. The beauty of RPGs like Kingdom Come Deliverance is that they give players the power to make choices. Those choices shape the world, and in that world, representation can exist without fanfare. It's not about making a statement or forcing the player to care about something. They can choose to engage with the story in their own way. That's the kind of representation that works. It's earned, not forced. So that's the long and short of it. Forced representation might grab attention, but it's the organic kind that builds a world where every character, every choice, and every relationship feels like it belongs. It's about respect. Respect for the world, the story, and most importantly, for the player. So next time you pick up a game, remember, it's not about the politics or the message, it's about the experience. Don't let anyone tell you how to enjoy that. Choose your own path, make your own decisions, and for the love of all things holy, think for yourself. Anyways, if you somehow made it this far, follow me on Patreon. You guys pissed me off, but hey, someone's gotta wake you up from that fantasy land you live in. Catch you later, and try not to be too stupid out here. A special shout out to NerdyDude247, LittleDude901, Robert Sokal, and John Grant for your continued support. You're the ones keeping this train rolling. Appreciate it!